Chris Stephens.
Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker. It's usually the Monday of a budget debate in which the details start to unravel, but very much like the selective amnesia that happened in September, October 2022, this one sort of unravelled as soon as the Chancellor sat down after delivering it. And it wasn't about the style of delivery and the enthusiasm of that delivery, which sounded very much like a bored train announcer. No, that wasn't the reason, Mr Deputy Speaker. It was the 3 disgraceful omissions from that budget. Because those of us in this Parliament know that there are at least 3 issues that it should deal with before that Parliament ends. And the first one, of course, is the infected blood scandal and infected blood compensation. The second one, of course, is the Post Office and compensation for those caught up with that. And the third one is almost certainly going to be, as we will discover in a debate tomorrow, 1950s born women. These are 3 big-ticket expenditure items of compensation that will have to be delivered. That will make sure that this Parliament might very well be the Justice Parliament. But the anger of those caught up on those 3 issues, that £46 billion of unfunded tax cuts has been given away, probably at their expense, as they believe, because there was no mention of those injustices and how to correct those injustices. I have to say, Mr Deputy Speaker, it's no wonder there are so many furious and angry people caught up in those scandals who have reacted to the budget in the way they have. Now, this debate has been dominated by 2 worlds. There is the government world, delivered by members on that side, and there is the real world, delivered by honourable members on this side of the House. Not one member I noticed on the government side had mentioned the fact that the corporation tax gap, the tax gap of those paying corporation tax, has increased in the last couple of years. Now, perhaps there may very well be reasons for that, Mr Deputy Speaker. Let's perhaps explore one of them. Perhaps if the government funded HMRC and funded those operations in HMRC that are responsible for going after the wealthy on the same basis and employed the same number of people that's employed by the state to deal with social security fraud, perhaps the corporation tax gap would not be increasing, perhaps it would be reduced. But I think the main fundamental difference between members on this side of the House, Mr Deputy Speaker, and those on the government side of the House is I don't believe they understand what's happening out there in the country. People look at the energy companies and they look at their own bills and they see the energy companies' profits skyrocketing. They look at the bank profits and they notice that their bank branches are closing and that their mortgages are increasing. They look at the insurance companies and the ramping up of insurance premiums and the insurance companies' profits increasing. And then they look at the supermarkets, where the cost of food is going to an astronomical level, and so is the profits of the supermarkets. These vast profits haven't reduced prices, which is supposed to be the great Conservative Party theory, is that if companies make vast profits, prices will reduce, and that has not happened in this cost of living crisis. And that's why I believe, as my honourable friends do, we really need to start looking at an excess profit tax, because until we do, people out there will feel that the government's treating them as fools. It's time for these companies, Mr Deputy Speaker, who are making these vast profits, to start paying their fair share. Now, we heard as well from government members about work has to pay. I think that's fascinating, coming from a government as an employer, because the simple facts are, Mr Deputy Speaker, there are tens of thousands of workers who are employed by the state, employed by, for example, the Department of Work and Pensions or HMRC, who believe their own employer, the government, is a minimum wage employer, because the only time they get an increase in their pay is when the so-called national living wage increases. This is an unsustainable position, Mr Deputy Speaker, when you have those working for the state, administering and delivering social security benefits, having their pay so low that they're also receiving and are receiving those same social security benefits. And that is a fact, Mr Deputy Speaker, which no honourable member opposite can deny. So if we really want to have a serious conversation about making work pay, perhaps the government can tell us and perhaps review their own public sector pay policy, because that is not a burden on the state or the taxpayer. When you pay wages properly, people spend it in the private sector economy. And if they really want to grow the economy, they could start by paying their own workers better. Thank you.
Thank you very much.